All aboard the Allegheny Super Review. We're going to check out this K-Line version of a famous C&O coal hauler. We're going to upgrade it, and then we're going to see if this thing could have fit the bill when it was offered, and subsequently canceled, as a LionMaster engine from Lionel. Let's dive in. I found this model and the upgrade parts we're going to use on Trainz.com. They're great supporters of the channel, and if you'd like to support us, you can use the discount code DADIFIED at checkout on their website for $10 off your order of $50 or more. It's a one-time use code, so if you want to keep supporting us when you shop there after you've used it, use Trainz.com/DADIFIED to tell them we sent you. It really does help our channel bring you cool stuff like this, so thanks to everyone who's used or is planning to use those codes. Speaking of Trainz, that is a key component I want to point out of this whole project. Their online store has such great search functions to help you find locomotives, rolling stock, track, accessories, and the one thing that's really playing a key role in today's video, parts. It could be that your engine is a little down and needs some pieces to fix it up, but in our case, we're going to make this K-Line Allegheny better than ever with a cruise control upgrade, and even see if we can improve the sounds a little with this Lionel Railsounds board we're going to swap in. Again, all of these were found on Trainz.com, so if you're looking for something similar, go explore their site and see if there's something you can get to fix up your roster. First things first, this Allegheny is a little weird. It's from K-Line and was released in the early 2000s, and it was released after their highly versatile yet slightly controversial semi-scale Big Boy. They scaled that engine down quite a bit, and this Allegheny continues that trend, although not quite as much as the Big Boy had. It's got what they call selective proportioning applied, meaning that while this isn't your usual O-scale, full-scale offering, they have managed to keep proportions faithful to the prototype. Why size it down? Well, that smaller size affords it the ability to work better around tighter turns. This engine, unsurprisingly, was released around the same time that Lionel themselves were experimenting with their LionMaster lineup that accomplishes this same idea. Great details and proportions made to handle curves as tight as 031. The main difference is that Lionel's scaled down proportions are bigger than what K-Line ended up going with. This Allegheny is fully featured for its time though. With Lionel's TMCC system at its core, it's able to run with any Cab 1, Cab 2, or Cab 3 system. Additionally, it's got Railsounds that are much more convincing than previous releases. Most K-Line engines just have a generic sound set in them, but as you can hear, this Allegheny has the right whistle and a convincing chuff. I'll touch on the sounds a little more later. Unlike most traditional or semi-scale offerings of iconic steam engines, this K-Line example has wonderful details applied throughout. If you only look at the photos, you might be convinced it's a scale version thanks to the deeper casting details and such. However, park it next to any scale engine, or even this semi-scale LionMaster Class A, and you'll notice the air has been let out a little more than some. I knew from seeing other reviews that had stated this engine was a little smaller than most would like, but it still looks fantastic, and you'll really only notice that size when parked next to scale engines. Again, the details do not disappoint. We'll touch more on the size thing later. There's nice lighting up front, even with class signals up above. There's a flickering firebox and reversing light. There's a rear electrocoupler on the tender, a wired tether connecting it from the tender to the bottom of the engine cab, and some switches and volume dials underneath. This engine does have 4 traction tires, 2 on each set of driving wheels. Mine were completely shot, so these are fresh traction tires used from the included replacements that were in the box. There is a problem with the wheels on the trailing truck for this engine though. They're held in seemingly by sheer luck with these plastic axle points on each end of the wheel bearing, and they're prone to falling out. Especially if you're looking secondhand, this is something you'll want to note in photos. It's not a huge issue if you just kind of glue those pieces in place before you manage to lose them, but in my case, one of the sets of wheels was missing as well as one of the plastic pieces to hold it in. Thankfully, I knew that ahead of time thanks to the photos posted on Trainz.com, but for now, I just made use of the fact that the rear trailing truck assembly has 3 sets of wheels. So I just have left out the middle set. You can't really tell when it's moving down the track anyways. The completionist in me might try and fix that later though. Oddly enough, the box art for this engine depicts the Virginian version and the C&O version, so make sure you read the side of the box label to see which one you're getting. Plus, the pictured version has a white stripe along the side of the running boards, which is prototypical for the Allegheny. However, none of the K-Line Allegheny engines were delivered like this from K-Line, only the Virginian versions for some reason. Thought that was strange. I decided to paint mine on while doing some touch-up work on the exterior of the engine. It looks better with the white stripe instead of just being a big, black, ominous engine. But important to note that yes, all the shots you'll see in this video with the white stripe, that's my doing, not how this thing comes out of the box, despite the art depicting otherwise. When mine arrived, the sounds weren't working. Initially, I wondered if there was an issue with the wires on the tether, but after opening up the tender, I discovered the R2LC board had simply come loose and fallen out. After reinstalling it, things worked just fine. Otherwise, I could have sent this back to Trainz to get it fixed, but if you can fix this stuff yourself, it's usually better and quicker to tackle it on your home workbench. In this case, it was an easy fix after removing 4 simple screws on the bottom of the tender. Since we've got the tender open, let's switch gears to upgrades. When I saw that Trainz had the Lionel TMCC Scale Allegheny Railsounds board for sale, I knew I could probably upgrade the K-Line model that I have here, because I'm used to K-Line models kind of having generic crew talk and just generic whistles and sounds like that anyways. What I didn't know is that the K-Line model actually has nearly identical sounds to the Lionel version. The same sound file for the whistle, the chuff, the bell. The only thing that's really different here is there's a few more variations to the whistle sound, and there's also road number specific dialogue. I picked up the Lionel board for 1601, so that's road number specific dialogue for this specific engine. It's pretty cool, and it's actually very simple.
1601, you are clear.
All you gotta do is open up the tender where the Railsounds board is. It's the one that has 2 chips on either side of it. And then you just carefully take out one and then replace it with the other one. It's important just to make sure that you've got all the pins lined up with the right one. You don't want to miss a row and screw something up. But otherwise, an upgrade that used to be very common because nearly all of your TMCC and early legacy engines had this type of Railsounds board, and you could swap them around. I've seen it done quite a bit, and I've enjoyed doing that. That's actually how I was able to upgrade the sounds on my Big Boy 4023 that I made. Next, we're going to upgrade the cruise control because K-Line engines have notoriously poor speed control. Really, any older TMCC engine, Lionel, K-Line, or otherwise, could benefit from this guy. This is a Cruise M Commander from ERR, or Electric Railroad. Yeah, they're part of Third Rail, those brass engine guys. And this Cruise M board is about to transform the speed control on this Allegheny. It's mostly a drop-in procedure, and the instructions even use the K-Line Allegheny as an example, so that makes following the instructions super easy. It is important to note, though, this isn't quite as drop-in of a procedure as the Railsounds board upgrade that I showed before. You can't just take one out and slap a new one in. There's a little bit more involved with this wiring-wise. The Cruise M uses the same mounting as the original board that it replaces, so simply remove the original K-Line Cruise and use the same screws to install the Cruise M. The rest is pretty much just following the K-Line wiring to a T, and it's a very seamless install. This engine essentially has a new brain, which means you pretty much got to program this thing like a brand new Lionel engine. So same process as you used for a base 1, 2, or 3. And because the last 2 digits of this one are 01, which is basically any new engine out of the box, I'm going to go with 16 here instead. It's all wired up, it's all running way smoother, way more predictable, and I can pretty much just leave this thing running around my loop, and that's what you want from cruise. You don't want to have to babysit the throttle and speed up on corners and slow down on straightaways. This thing does all that stuff for you, so you can set it and forget it. Also makes it really easy for filming, which is great for somebody like me. So the Allegheny's fixed up and even upgraded, but would this engine have been a good fit for the LionMaster lineup? You guys know I love LionMasters. I'm a big fan of these larger engines that have been scaled down to work on smaller layouts, as evidenced by my extensive collection. The Allegheny is scaled down, it has good proportions, but you might notice it's lacking some of the heft and presence that other LionMasters have. This LionMaster, again, was originally slated for release in the 2020 Lionel catalog, but not enough orders were received to actually make them, so they canceled it. Part of my interest in this engine was to see for myself, would this engine have really fit in? And my answer is no. I think this is a good engine, but it's more in line with the size that you would find from a Rail King steam engine. And nothing against Rail King, but I just feel like the proportions on those engines are much smaller. Not much smaller, but noticeably smaller enough to, look a little bit funny behind anything besides traditional sized cars. Even the Rail King box cars and passenger cars that I have look better behind my LionMaster engines than they do behind other Rail King steam engines. So this is weird because it has better details than most Rail King steam engines. It's got number boards and class lights, and the details are really nicely tooled in here, but it's just not the right size. Again, it can handle all the same curves the same way that a LionMaster could, but sitting next to other engines that should technically be bigger than it, it just doesn't look quite right. I am still very happy with this K-Line Allegheny, and especially with how the upgrades on it have turned out. Honestly, I think that's what's going to make me enjoy this engine even more. I could have found this Allegheny on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or even at a train show, but having a one-stop shop, not just for the Locomotive, but also for the parts we've used today to really make this engine a solid runner, I'm glad I could do it all on Trainz.com. Again, check them out if you haven't already. I know I'll be browsing their site later today for the next great find. If you've got questions about Trainz or what I did here today, or have a project of your own you need help with, let me know down in the comments or leave us a message on our Instagram, The Secondhand Overland. As always, a big thank you if you've left a like, a comment, and for the subscribers, new and old, who support our channel every week as we continue to bring you new videos and shorts. We'll see you on the next one.